welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay, and I'm a naval historian, but this month I've been more of a maritime historian, as this topic is clearly not uh, involving any battleships or aircraft carriers or submarines, but rather Titanic. Although this is the fourth part in which I will discuss the uh, search for Titanic and what has happened since then. Now, this is where things get crazy, and we actually have to start our story with submarines. Specifically, the loss of two submarines during the 1960s. First, USS Thresher, shown here in uh, 1960, with all hands off the New England coast, in which she went down for a test dive, and due to a mechanical issue, ended up not being able to resurface, and she eventually uh, took on water and sank. Went past her crush depth, and the vessel imploded with the loss of all hands on board. The second one happened a little later in the decade, I believe it was 67, in which something weird happened with USS Scorpion. The hypothesis is that one of her torpedoes started cooking off, and so they were trying to release that. Forgot to turn off the homing mechanisms in the torpedo, and that torpedo eventually took out Scorpion. Now, the United States Navy did know exactly where Thresher was. They had a good idea where Scorpion was, but that's just something you just need to keep in mind for later. Is eventually in the late 70s, Robert Ballard made his after working as one of the geologists that helped fig- just confirm that plate tectonics was a thing by their exploration of the mid-Atlantic ridge. Tried to was like, oh, okay, I got this, a little bit of notoriety now. Let's go try to find Titanic, and so he did in '78. He did make an attempt and purchased millions of dollars of uh, sonar and camera equipment, and got a drilling ship. And so their plan was to put all the sonar and camera equipment on a sled, which was attached to drill pipe. And unfortunately, what happened when they went to do their first test, they got about 3,000 feet down with that sled, and then the pipe just broke. So clearly, pipe's not a good thing to tow all the equipment with, and so Ballard had to return to port with his tail tucked behind him. He did learn some valuable lessons, and unfortunately, uh, with after that he went and did that expedition off the Galapagos, where they looked at a seamount and discovered black smokers and tube worms and all that, and now we kind of have, thanks to Dr. Ballard, have a good idea um, of how life may have started around those black smokers. So the next person who attempted to find Titanic was a Texas oil man and general crazy person by the name of Jack Grimm. He claimed to have found Noah's Ark, and then he spent in 80, 81, and 83 three attempts to try and locate Titanic. Um, he didn't find anything. He found something that we're still trying to figure out what it is. Most people now think it was a geogra- ge- geological anomaly, but crazy enough, his equipment did get within a mile and a half of where the wreck site was. They just never found it. So this is where Thresher and Scorpion come into the Titanic story. Uh, so Bob Allard, as seen here on screen, not a man to give up on a dream, especially a lifelong one, uh, had basically went to the Pentagon and as a naval officer, as he was in the Naval Reserve during most of his career, uh, and so he went to the Pentagon, discussed to with the folks like, hey, I wanted to develop these new ROV technologies in order to uh, test on test them, so that way maybe we can go find stuff and not have to use submersibles all the time. And he's like, I know you guys have Thresher and know where Thresher is and need to survey it. and also you kind of have an idea where Scorpion is. So if you help fund me and give me, and I develop these technologies, conduct these surveys, and we can use the Titanic as a cover story in which I would actually trying to search for Titanic, not these other. Look at these other vessels as the Cold War is still going on, and if you had this cover story that Ballard was looking for Titanic and not looking for uh, reviewing Thresher and Scorpion's wreck sites, the Soviets wouldn't be involved, and also uh, those wreck sites would not be known to the Soviets. And so, crazy as this sounds, U.S. Navy actually agreed. Uh, so at first, the first thing they built was the towed camera sled by name of Argo, famously named after the ship Jason the Argonauts uh, used in the myths of ancient Greek myths. And so she could this sled could go down basically wherever and survey fields, and that's actually what they did because in 1984 and 1985, Ballard and his team uh, used Argo to go down and uh, survey the Thresher and Scorpion sites, and they discovered one very important thing, and is a key thing now that happens when they go out, teams go out to find sunken vessels, is that as a vessel sinks, it leaves a debris field that is affected by the currents. So, namely, the heaviest parts of the vessel they tend to sink faster and closer to the original location where she had gone under, whereas the lighter items actually sink slower and fall further away from the main wreckage. And this is a very, very, very important thing to keep in mind. And so in 1985, Ballard knew that his team only had 12 days on site to try and find Titanic. So, in an effort to potentially save time, Ballard and his team partnered with the French oceanographic agency IFREMER. And what the plan was is that IFREMER would deploy side scan sonar array to search for the larger targets of interest, and then Ballard and his team would use Argo to visually inspect those sites. So, and the French did scan most of the search area, but did not find anything of interest. Um, with that in mind, Ballard did anticipate this a bit, so his team came into the search area with a plan, and that plan was that they knew about how these wreck sites from Thresher and Scorpion were not just in one concentrated area, but all spread out. So they decided instead of looking for the main wreck, they would use the live video feed from Argo to search for the debris field. Because if they found the debris field, then it was just like in battleships, just a matter of figuring out which direction the debris field was going, and then sweeping until you find the main part of the wrecks. And that's exactly what happened. Because late on, or very early on, late in the day, evening, like around midnight on August 31st, 1985, they started seeing man-made items on the ocean floor. And that was confirmed within the next couple hours, in the early morning of September 1st, 1985, in which they found one of the boilers. And that basically meant they knew that they were at the wreck site, they had found it. Uh, and then after they held a short memorial service, they went back to work. I don't think anyone on that crew slept until they were heading back to port, because they located the bow pretty quickly the next day, and then by the end of the excursion, they had located the stern, and they also got did some preliminary mapping of the wreck site by the uh, towed camera sled Angus. And of course, this is a very famous photo of Titanic's bow. This was actually done on Ballard's 2004 trip, funded by NOAA, um, and it's become one of the most famous shots taken of her. Now, Ballard, of course, was still on duty with the Navy, still had some more work to do, and because Navy also wanted some close-up stuff, which you can only get at that time from a submersible. But to get even closer, uh, yes, they use the submersible Alvin, but as you can see, attached to front of Alvin is a camera, well, actually, that's set up for different scientific events, but you could attach all sorts of stuff to the front of Alvin, and one thing they did is they uh, built a small ROV called Jason Jr., which could explore interior uh, places, or you get even closer to the wreck than Alvin could. And so they used that for the 1986 expedition and even entered the hull of Titanic and everything. And of course, during the overnight hours, like they sent Argus down uh, overnight to keep mapping the wreck site, get more and more detail of it. And Ballard did uh, report that in a first in National Geographic and then in a couple of books. Then, controversially, the next year, IFRMR came on site, and they were contracted uh, by RMS Titanic Inc. to go down and retrieve artifacts from Titanic. This is very controversial and still is to this day, as there are folks, myself included, that believe that those artifacts should stay down there. As once the ship goes down, it is a wreck site and should not be disturbed. And other people are like, no, we need to get this stuff above back on the shore, preserve it for prosperity. Um, I will say though, uh, if I get a chance to see that stuff in Las Vegas, even though I disagree with the reasoning why they did it, the fact that it's up and preserved, I'm going to go see that stuff because that stuff's in those artifacts are on display in Orlando and Las Vegas at this time. Famously, and I mentioned it all throughout the series, 1997 saw a huge bump in interest in Titanic thanks to James Cameron's film. Um, I should let you know the James Cameron did not waste his money uh, that he earned off of it. He actually used his cut of the profits to develop uh, his version of 3D cameras, in which the two camera lenses are basically set up like human eyes, and his own intent was to use that to allow oceanographers to see what was underwater the way they would see it in 3D and put those on ROVs. In fact, that 2004 expedition that Ballard undertook was using that technology. And Cameron's continued to fund oceanographic developments uh, and exploration, as he famously also developed a submersible that went all the way down to the bottom of Marianas Trench and stayed there for about an hour and a half, and has greatly contributed to science. The Titanic site has been thoroughly mapped by now. There's also 3D scans of her. It's expected right now the hull is deteriorating, mostly thanks to um, organic life actually eating at the uh, ship itself. Bob Ballard called these rusticles. There actually is a scientific name for it, which I forgot to write down and probably couldn't pronounce anyway, since it's all Latin. Uh, but yeah, it says even though these were first found on Titanic, they have subsequently been found on other vessels at even greater depths, such as Bismarck, battleship Bismarck. They are starting to see they have found development of receptacles on her as well. So she's been eaten away, and also there's the seabed down there. The sands keep shifting around and whatnot. There's some oceanographers who think that Titanic may eventually be buried within the next century or two, and so um, thankfully she's been thoroughly mapped, 3D scanned, and all that. Now, that doesn't mean Titanic isn't still being visited. In fact, to this day, she still is, but not at once the 3D scanning was not a great frequency, because she actually is still a great test site for new explorative uh, ROVs, scientific ROVs, to go down there and get calibrated, since it's such a well-known site. It's so well mapped, photographed. It's something easy to calibrate. Unfortunately, There was unfortunately, the submersible Titan incident. I'm sure everyone has seen that Netflix documentary. So that unfortunately, Titanic did claim 5 more lives, and when that submersible capsized back in 2023. But fortunately, ROVs are still going back, have gone back down, and made sure that everything is still going fine with Titanic. For Even though it was tragic, Titan did not cause when she imploded, did not cause any damage to Titanic, and they were able to clean up as much of that as possible as part of their investigation. Since then, it's still a fascinating story. If you guys want to know more about Robert Ballard, he's a very fascinating scientist and explorer. I do highly recommend his autobiography, Into the Deep. It's available from uh, National Geographic Press. I got the hard copy version when it came out. It was $30. I'm not sure what it is now. I'll put a link to it in the description. And so, with that, that concludes this month of Titanic knowledge and lore. I hope you enjoyed this series. Please give me a like if you did. Also, just share this with anyone you think is fascinating. And, of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. As always, if you plan on leaving a comment, please be kind and respectful to each other, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.